Hello, my name is Sherry Gendell, Manager of Exhibition Services for RSNA, and I'd like to welcome you all to today's webinar, Return to Live. The past year and a half has definitely been a long journey with lots of twists and turns along the way, and I think I can speak for most of us here when I say we are really looking forward to getting back to in-person events. Joining me today is Jefferson Davis with Competitive Edge, who has been doing just that. Jefferson comes to us with over 30 years of exhibition industry experience, and with his team has evaluated over 26,000 exhibits in action. He is a consultant, trainer, speaker, and author who is intensely results focused. In the past few months, Jefferson has been to at least 3 in-person trade shows, reconnecting with clients and exhibitors, and he's been sharing and summarizing what he has observed and experienced firsthand. We have invited him here today to present this special webinar that will help you calculate how many attendees you need to attract to your booth and what you can do to be successful as we return to in-person meetings. There will be a Q&A session with Jefferson at the end of the presentation, so we encourage you to take advantage of this opportunity to have your questions answered by typing them in the Q&A section on your screen. I also want to mention that we are recording today's webinar, and we'll post it to our exhibitor best practices page for anyone who may have missed it, or if you want to play it back for reference. And now I'm going to turn it over to Jefferson.
Thank you, Sherry. And again, thank you to everybody for logging in to today's webinar. You know, there's a lot of concerns out in the exhibitor community about the potential for reduced attendance at upcoming trade shows. And you know, to be honest, attendance is going to be down a little, you know, especially from the international community, given all the different various mandates and rules and regulations. But here's the thing, right? Your ultimate success as an exhibitor at RSNA 21 is not going to come down to whether RSNA has 10,000, 25,000 or 40,000 attendees. That's not what is going to make your success. What is going to make your success is your ability to attract enough of the right people to your exhibit. So that's what we want to really dive into today, is thinking through who are the right people, how much is enough, how many do you really need to win this game, and what can you do on your own and with and through RSNA over these next few months to make sure that you are in the mind and on the agenda of enough of the right people. That's the equivalent of what I like to call winning the game before kickoff, right? There's no greater feeling than walking into a trade show knowing that you've got 60, 70% of your exhibit interaction capacity spoken for before the doors even open. And this is what, by the way, the top 5% of exhibitors have been doing for years. They don't just show up and hope that enough people attend and hope they get into the exhibit hall and hope they pass their booth. They have a very well-designed plan to get in the mind. And by the way, write that phrase down again. I want that to be your battle cry for every show you do from this day forward. In the mind, on the agenda of enough of the right people, okay? So I'm thrilled to be here with you today. I've been around RSNA for 10 plus years now. You know, as a trade show productivity expert, I am extremely process-based and I'm results-focused, right? I've never viewed a trade show as a place to show up, fly the company flag, hand out some tchotchkes, scan some badges, and go home. I've always viewed a trade show as a big investment of human and financial capital. And when that investment is leveraged, when it's working properly, the 2 high-level outcomes it delivers for a company it should be delivering, number one on the screen right now, is it visibly supports your company's core business objectives. Now, when you think about trade shows, there's a lot of goals that you can set, but the three big areas, write these down, it's not in your workbook, the three big areas are marketing, customer relationship management, and sales. Those are the big three. Those are the value drivers. So you want to make sure that you have clearly defined outcomes in all three areas. A clear marketing goal, a clear sales down the line ultimate goal, and a customer relationship management goal. And the second thing that your exhibit program should be doing is delivering measurable financial value beyond cost. I never want the day for any of you on this webinar, I never want you to be behind the eight ball when you have a CFO or a CMO walk in and go, hey, Sherry, you just dropped $100,000 on RSNA. Can you tell me exactly how it supported our core business objectives? And then the CFO walks in and says, hey, Sherry, you just dropped $100,000 on RSNA. Can you tell me exactly where and how we got value beyond cost, right? Those are the two outcomes that your program absolutely should be delivering, right? And so what I did, by the way, during this pandemic, like all of us in the show business, we got completely shut down on March 13th of last year. I took the fourth quarter and I kind of went off the grid, so to speak. And I looked back at my 30 years, excuse me, of working with exhibitors and helping them generate combined over $800 million in measurable results. And I looked at every client I worked with, and what I wanted to try to really encapsulate and understand was how did we do that, right? What was the process? What were the critical success factors? And so I put together, finally, 30 years of work, $800 million of results, what you're seeing on the screen right now. I call this the exhibit marketing process, right? And it really identifies the strategic factors that you as an exhibitor need to be addressing if you want to make sure that your program's delivering on those two high-level outcomes. And you'll see it kind of it's organized from pre-event, during event, and post-event. Now, I could do half-day, full-day webinars on all 8 of these blocks, right? Literally. But today, we're going to jump in and zero in on the area that I think is probably the most pressing exhibitor question and challenge that I'm hearing across every industry I work in today. You know, exhibitors are saying, man, I'm concerned about show attendance being down. I'm concerned about, you know, there being enough people there. I'm concerned about my ability to get enough of the right people to my exhibit. So let's move away from concern and let's move toward planning, action, and results. That's what we're going to do today. Okay, so if you want a booth that's full of valuable, interested, qualified visitors, there are some questions, right? Major questions that you have to ask and answer. So I'm going to walk you through these questions because I've always believed, you know, it's not what you tell, it's what you ask, right? And if you ask good questions and you put deep thought into it, you'll get good results, right? It's almost as the scripture tells us, ask and it will be given unto you, right? Seek and you will find, knock and the door will be opened up to you. So let's ask some really good questions here today. Let's get started. So number one, the major question at the top, who are the right people for you, right? Not everybody attending RSNA is your ideal visitor. So we got to get crystal clear more than ever, right? Exactly who are the right people for you. Then we got to think about how many do you really need to attract, right? Because a lot of times, you know, when I talk to marketing managers, you know, their bosses are always saying, we want more leads. We want more leads, right? And sometimes the numbers that they're pressing for don't even make sense, right? And so we're going to bring some science, and we're going to bring a formula, and I'm going to have you calculate in this webinar what we call your exhibit interaction capacity. And that is probably the most important number that you need to focus on to win trade shows. And then we're going to take a look at the big question of There's so much noise out in the marketing world today. People are being just inundated, especially through the digital, the email, the social media channels. But what can you say, right? What can you do, right? Over these coming months, how do you put visiting your exhibit on their agenda? So we're going to talk about that and give you some guidance. Number 4, media. Wow, there's like overchoice in media too, right? It seems like there's probably 10, 15, 20 different media I could be using. So what media should you be using specifically for trade shows, right? What media works best? So we're going to talk about that. And then when do you start? We're sitting here today, September 15th. So we are 2.5 months out. So when do you start? We're going to talk about that. And then finally, what can you do, right? It's one thing to promote. It's another thing to promote well. So how do you increase the response rates to your marketing efforts? How do you go from a 1 to 3% response rate to a 20 to 60% response rate? That's what we're going to talk about today. These are the major questions. And as the great Stephen Covey, author of 7 Habits, said, don't major in the minor things. Major in the majors. The main thing is the main thing, and the main thing for you to win RSNA 21 is to be sure that you have done everything you can do, right, to be in the mind, on the agenda of the right people. Okay, so grab your workbook, grab your pen, have your finger on your question tab there, and be ready to fire away with your questions, because I'm going to give you a lot of what we've learned over 30 years and in generating over $800 million in measurable results from shows. Okay, so who are the right people, right? You'll notice the grid, by the way. Look at the image on the right of the screen. You know what, I call this the triangle, the triad, if you will. I really feel like in terms of supporting goals and generating value, that there are 3 very distinct groups that we should be focusing our efforts on for shows. And what's cool about this is if you'll really take this to heart and you'll come in with a balanced approach where you're doing some work in all 3 areas, you're going to have a booth full of interested, high-value, qualified visitors. So where do you start? You start at the base of the triangle. I have that in red, right? Because your customers, that is where you have to start. Being in the healthcare industry, it's possible that your sales reps or dealers, distributors have not been able to get into clinics or practices. So, it's possible that they haven't had face time with customers for a year and a half. Hey, and something interesting? This one will blow you away. You may want to jot this down. Prior to the pandemic, prior to it, according to a CEIR study, Center for Exhibition Industry Research, 68% of the attendees that visit a booth say they have not had in-person contact from that company in the last 6 months. Okay, so circle the wagon around your customers. There are 4 reasons to invite and get time with them. Top of the list is relationship management. To put a deposit into the relationship bank account, if you will. Second reason, probe or inquire for additional opportunity, right? There's been a lot of changes. A lot of people have come, people have gone. There's cross-sell, there's upsell opportunities. So you're probing for that next opportunity. The third area is ears to the ground for change, right? Who's coming? Who's going? What's new? What's happening, right? It's amazing what people will tell you when they're on a trade show floor versus what they might not tell you on the phone and when you're out in their practice or their clinic. And fourth would be advocacy or endorsement, right? You have these customers that love you, right? That they would gladly tell anybody how great you are. And by the way, jot this down. How about we start using our trade shows for when we get this FaceTime with these advocate customers, let's whip out our phones and see if we can't get a short client testimonial video. Those are worth its weight in gold. what we say as marketers, people can doubt, right? They might not believe. But what our customers say, that's gold, right? So now some exhibitors tell me, they go, Jefferson, we do not want to aggressively invite our customers to shows. And I ask them, why not? And the answer I hear the most is, duh, because all of our competitors are there. Well, here's the thing, right? Number one, write this down, critically important. Today's customers use trade shows to revalidate existing buying relationships, especially if there's been a change in the team. Are you still the best overall source, right? So reason one is revalidating existing buying relationships, right? Reason number two, this is for a key show like RSNA. This is the time when the competitors are beating down your customers' doors. And so strategy, circle the wagons around your customers and have clear objectives. You can see those 4 reasons on the screen here as to the reason for the interaction. All right, so start there. This second group, this is the right side of the triangle you're looking at. And I have it in green because this is where the quick cash flow is, right? You've got your sales team, your dealers, your distributors have prospects that are in your sales pipeline. So what an incredible use of the energy, the education, your technical experts, your product demos, right, to advance people to the next step in the sales cycle. And this may sound intuitive, but many of you as marketers, marketing managers will probably agree with me that there's often a disconnect or a silo between marketing and sales. And I'm going to tell you what, one of my colleagues right from Chicago years ago did a survey of 15,000 sales reps across every major industry in America, and he found that 76% of salespeople hate trade shows. Now, something's wrong with that, okay? When a salesperson doesn't understand the value prop of trade shows, face, right, all this. But so what I'm saying here is don't assume as exhibitor marketing manager that your sales management and your sales team sees shows as enthusiastically as you do. And furthermore, do not assume that they're going to get out and actually think about how can I best use the energy, the excitement, the education, the demos, our technical staff to move prospects to the next step in the sales cycle. I'm telling you, this is where the fast return on investment is. Remember that second major outcome, value beyond cost? This is a really important message here, okay? Next, take a look at your top customers, right? Success leaves clues, right? So when you're thinking about who would be the ideal visitor that we want to attract to our booth at RSNA, look at your top customers, right? Create your persona, your avatar, your profile, whatever you want to call it, around cloning your best customers. Isn't that a great strategy? How can we use RSNA 21 to clone our top 10 customers, our top 20? I don't know how big your company is, how many customers you have, right? So create your profile based on cloning your best customers. Number 4, one of the most valuable resources available to every exhibitor is the pre-registered attendee list. Here's the paradox. Write this down. The last time I checked in with Experian, who does registration and attendee list management, write this number down. It's going to blow you away. Only 6% of exhibitors in the average B2B trade show are using the pre-registered attendee list. Find out what the average and the people that struggle are doing, and don't do that, right? Someone told me early on, hey, Jefferson, if you want to succeed, it's not that hard. Look at what failures are doing and don't do that, right? 94% of people don't understand that the most powerful list available to them is the pre-reg. And Sherry's going to come back in a little bit here and go over some of these RSNA marketing ops. But we're not here to sell you anything here today. Just want you to understand the ability to access this list is priceless, and I'm blown away at how few exhibitors do it. Next, take a look. Maybe you're doing content marketing. Maybe you've got like LinkedIn groups. Maybe you're using landing pages. Maybe you're doing advertising, direct marketing. Go back and look at anybody who has inquired into your products or services in the last 12 to 18 months. Put them on the list, right? So, question number one is, who are the right people? Work the triangle. Customers, prospects in the pipeline, new contacts that really match your ideal customer profile. And if you'll spend these next few months, not just in logistics and operations, but in the strategic, the heavy lifting work, you are going to have an incredible RSNA 21, even if attendance is down a little. And that's my wish, hope, and dream for you. Next, how many, right? How much is enough? Sometimes, you'll hear like senior marketing managers go, well, last year we got like 500, quote, leads. My question is, were they really leads? So this year, let's go for 1,000. And I'm like, where'd you get that number from? They pulled it out of the sky, right? There's no science behind it. And that puts a lot of pressure on you as an exhibit or a marketing manager. And it's often unrealistic pressure, right? So we need to bring some science. Everyone's saying today, follow the science. Well, here's a little science about exhibiting here. The big message that I want you to stay very focused on, right, is not the total number of people that are attending. I know everybody looks at that, we get caught up in that, wow, there's going to be, or whoa, there ain't going to be, but that number, if you really get down to it, if you've looked at any of my selective attraction work I've done over the years, it's not the most important number, right? There will be more than enough of the right people for you. But the question is, are you going to identify who they are, and are you going to do the work in advance? Okay? So what I want you to get laser focused on is, how many people do you need to win this game? And the number is going to surprise you. It's not as many as you think. So grab your pen, grab a calculator right now, and let's run this formula together. And this is your magic number over these next 2.5 months. This is where you want to live. This is where you want to put the energy. Remember this, okay? The magic power of trade shows is face. It's about face. It's about putting your company identity, your products, and your staff face to face with people that use, influence, specify, recommend, or make buying decisions for what you offer. That being said, you do not have an infinite amount of capacity. In fact, you have a very limited amount of capacity. And the more you know what this magic number is, the easier it is for you to win. So let's calculate it now. Okay, so RSNA 21 will have 28 exhibiting hours. Now, by the way, we're only talking about open exhibit hours. So make a few quick notes here. Work the golden hours in the morning before the show opens. Work the entertaining hours in the evening. And also think outside the booth. But I want you to win from within the booth, which is your biggest spend area. So anything else is like the icing on the cake, right? So you got 28 hours. This is called your opportunity, right? Okay, I want you to put your number, not mine. How many people are you going to have in your booth, your staff, on average, for those 28 hours? Notice the footnote. The rule of thumb is 50 square feet per staffer. Now, if you're in a 10 by 10, which I'm going to use a small booth example here, 2, maybe 3. Now, keep in mind that as your booth gets larger, you want to use 50 square feet of open space. That means you're going to look at your footprint, your plan, and you're going to estimate exhibit properties, equipment, furnishing, and you're going to drill it down to open space. And there is a saturation point, too, even at the 50 square foot rule, where it becomes too many. Okay, but running that formula is going to help you. So I want you to write down right now how many booth staff will be in your booth for the purpose of engaging visitors. Now, listen very carefully to this next number. I want you to set a clear and firm target number of interactions per hour per staffer. Okay? 3 is conservative. That means your average booth staffer is over an hour in the booth is going to have 3 quality conversations. That is 20 minutes to find, engage, and go through the conversation, right? The average interaction in a booth, write this down, is 3 to 7 minutes. You see, I could make a case for a lot more interactions, but I never will, right? Because I'm a realist here. When we design these formulas, we're not pie in the sky here. Let's keep our feet on the ground and be in touch with reality here. 4 interactions per hour, moderate. 5 interactions per hour, maybe slightly aggressive. So I want you to lock in on a specific target number of interactions per hour per staffer. And by the way, I want you to communicate this with your team, that when they're standing in that exhibit, right, that their job, the reason they're here, is to get at least this many interactions per hour, right? If you get everybody, like expectations and maybe, contests and rewards in play. Now, multiply these, and this is your magic number. I think it's the most important number you're ever going to understand about trade. Again, do you see how, Sherry, typically, just top of the mind, how many attendees, let's say our last live show, RSNA 19, how many total attendees were at that show? Ballpark.
I'm going to say probably close to 52,000. I believe that was the number of attendees at the in-person.
50,000. So do you see now, does everybody understand why I'm saying that there, even with attendance being down, even if we're off 30%, even if we're down 40%, there are still going to be more than enough for each of you. So what I would like all of you on this webinar to do right now, if you haven't done it, I want you to calculate your exhibit interaction capacity. I want you to go to your question queue right now and just type in your number. I'm going to pause and give you a moment, right? And do not underestimate the power of this exercise, because it is an absolute game changer. Dan, thank you so much. Right out of the gate, Dan, 840. Eric, 252. Thank you. Darren, 168. Douglas, 336. Right? Yes. Everybody calculate this number. It's the most important number. Now, all of you that submitted so far, right? Stephanie, whoa, you got a big capacity, 2,100. I would like to learn a little bit more about your booth size, and just make sure you got that formula right. That is a very high exhibit interaction capacity. Harish, 336. Mary, 624. Charlotte, 224. Megan, 336. So far, Sarah, you got a big number there too, 1,960. But again, so even for the 2 highest numbers, with Sarah and Stephanie at 1,960 and 2,100, if the attendance is 30% off and we end up with like 35,000 attendees or whatever, it's still easy to win the game. That's what I want you to get excited about. When you know this number, it makes your life so much easier, right? So much easier. So thank you for sharing that, everybody. Remember now, okay, your major goal, now that you've calculated your number, the major question is going to be 2 things. Who are the right people, and what am I going to do between now and when I arrive to be in their mind and on their agenda? Everything. Pull out all the stops. Prior to the pandemic, that 80% of exhibitors do little or no pre-event marketing. They essentially do what I call exhibit by hope. They rent space, they show up and hope. You want to win the game? Do not exhibit by hope. It's not a strategy. Hope is not a strategy. I don't know where people got this idea that hope is a strategy. It's not, right? A hope is what? A hope, right? But it doesn't guarantee that you're going to win this game, okay? So do everything. So let's roll here. By the way, we started this webinar a few minutes later. I'm sorry, we were having some technical issues. It's possible we're going to go a few minutes over, but please keep in mind we are recording the entire event, and we'll have this available to you within 24 hours following the event. And I would encourage you to replay this and share it with your marketing team. Share that first, who are the right people with your sales, your dealers, your distributors, right? Okay, so what can you say, do to grab attention and get on their agenda? Well, here's the first big idea that I want to share. Write this down. People don't buy 3/4-inch drill bits. What are they really buying? They're buying what? The 3/4-inch hole, right? The biggest problem that I see in exhibit marketing and most marketing for that matter is this heavy emphasis on what we sell, the product or the service, right? I want you to step away from your product or service, and I want you to step into the minds of your customers. And I want you to ask yourself this question. What problems are they facing? What challenges, what changes, right, are they experiencing, right? And then what opportunities? How does your product or service help them do something safer, greener, faster, more effective, right? It really comes down to your hook is not about we sell widgets. Your hook is if you're having this problem, we have the widget for you. And I've analyzed tens of thousands of exhibitors pre-show marketing, and I don't see enough conversation around this. Key phrase, write this down. Key phrase. The why precedes the how. Your big why. Why should I pay attention to your marketing? Why should I read your email? Why should I put you on your on my show planner, my agenda? Right? That's what I'm talking about here. So analyze, get with your product managers, get with your salespeople, and ask what are the top of the mind pressing challenges that we can help radiology professionals solve. That's going to be your hook, right? So design your messages around solving problems and seizing up, and also learning. Phrase, circle that word learning in your workbook. One of the primary reasons people come to trade shows is to learn. We've all been knocked off center. Everything has changed. People's minds are wide open right now. You are the subject matter in your product or service category. Let's teach them something in the booth. Give us 3 to 5 minutes and you'll learn about this or that, right? They'll come running, right? The 4 key words as you promote your exhibit experience. And you got to remember, you're not only competing with your direct product or service category, you're competing with every other exhibitor in the hall for the limited time and attention of the attendee. So I want you to define and communicate your visitor experience. What will they see? What will they do? What will they learn? And what will they get? Right? You'll have all kinds of Marcom messaging that you can put pieces and bits of this through all the different channels, right? See, do, learn, get. Make sure this. I'm amazed at how often I see exhibitor pre-marketing that has no clear call to action. Tell them exactly what you want them to do. You know, put booth 1, 2, 3, 4 on your RSNA My Show Planner. Don't make them guess. Be Captain Obvious and have a strong, clear call to action. And if you want to increase the response rate, the number of people that actually take that action, think about some form of a useful or an educational reward, okay? Now, I don't want them at my booth for the reward, so I'm going to use my reward as the, oh, by the way. I'm going to lead with the problem I can help you solve, the opportunity I can help you seize, and then I'm going to say, oh, by the way, is our way of saying thank you for putting us on your My Show Planner. When you visit our booth, we'll have something cool waiting for you at the booth. Footnote. Be sure to refer to RSNA's giveaway request and raffle notifications, PDFs, to make sure that what you're doing is in compliance with the rules and the regs, because there are rules and regs, okay? So think about that. All right, next, number 4. People ask me all the time, they go, hey, Jefferson, what is the single best media for marketing my trade show booth? And my answer is always the same. There is no single best. The magic is in the mix. Different people consume, different people respond to different media. It's, key phrase, write this down. It's hard to win the race with a one-legged horse. Get a picture in your mind of a one-legged horse running in like the Kentucky. I've never seen a one-legged horse run. And yet a lot of exhibitors, right, when it comes to their pre-marketing, will lean toward one media as their dominant. For most exhibitors, guess what media that is? Email, right? Well, what's the problem with email? Well, number one, the average business person is getting over 200 emails a day. Number two, spam filters are constantly changing. I have clients that I've been doing business with for 20 years that out of the blue, I'm ending up in their junk spam filter. I'm emailing these people like 10, 20, 30, 50 times a year. Out of the blue, I'm getting lost in their spam filter. Don't rely on one media, okay? How many media should you use? As many as you have the time, the skill set, and the budget to utilize. Ideally, you'll want to touch the different areas like print, like digital online, direct mail. The clutter in the mailbox has gotten so light. And guess what few exhibitors are using anymore? Direct mail, okay? What a great time to get back in the mailbox, okay? Don't try to do everything digitally here, right? We're all kind of caught in this. It's the phones and it's the email and it's all this. I lead right out of the list. Hey, I like to use a shock and awe type mailer, which is a package type mailer that has to be opened, right? Personal letters of invitation, oversized postcards, right? These are very powerful. And when you go through your list and you really drill it down to your top 25 to 50 targets, you can afford to do a high concept, a shock and awe type mailer, as I call it. And then you can use your invitations and your postcards for the rest of the list. Telephone. If you have phone numbers in your database, pick up the phone and call, right? Let's not just hope that our mail gets through. Let's not hope they see our email. Let's not hope they respond to our social media. Let's get on the phone and dial for dollars, right? Trade publications. Here's a key. I would take my top 10 or 20 customers and I would ask them, what is your must-read trade publications, right? I would be looking at editorial content, advertising. I would also be looking into the availability of targeted readership lists as another source, right? And then RSNA exhibitor marketing. Now there's free stuff and there's for purchase stuff. So with that in mind, I'm going to bring Sherry on for just a moment here to kind of spotlight a few of the things as an exhibitor that you might want to think about. Sherry?
Sure. So the first thing that you might want to take advantage of are the free logos and the e-blast headers that you can download right from our RSNA website. So to find those, if you're on the Planning Your Exhibit page, there is a box titled Maximizing Your Success, and you will find a link there that you can go to, and you'll see various things that you can download and use. And then something new this year is it's in the exhibitor portal. It's called Share Your Show Presence. And these are links that you can generate right in the portal. They are direct links that will take the person directly to either your online exhibitor listing, or it will take them to your location on the online floor plan. So they know exactly how to find you when they get to RSNA in Chicago. And so after you generate that link, you can either put it into your own marketing materials that you're sending out, or you can share those directly to social media. The options are Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, and you can do that right inside the exhibitor dashboard. And then another thing I really wanted to mention as I was listening to Jefferson talking about, getting your customers and reconnecting with them is the guest pass program. And some people, they've been exhibitors for a long time and they just don't take advantage of this, and it's totally free to use. So that's why I wanted to bring this up. They're given to you at no cost from RSNA, and you will see what your allotment is when you're in the exhibitor registration dashboard. So you can send out invitations right from that dashboard, or similar to the Share Your Show links, you can just copy that link and put it into your own marketing materials or email to your VIP customers or prospects. But the way it works is You send out the promo code. You have so many of them that you can manage and have redeemed. So you want to think about that. You don't want to send it out to 100 people and you only have, 5, and then you have 95 upset people. So really manage those carefully. But when that person takes that promo code and they register for a technical exhibits pass, which is a $499 pass, they get that for free as your gift to them. So that's a really, I think, great way to reconnect with customers and say, hey, come see me at RSNA. I'm giving you a free pass to come see me. And I'm sure if you do that, they're going to want to come to your booth and reconnect with you. So those passes, new this year, they used to be only valid for one day. They're actually valid for all 4 days of the exhibition. And they give access to the virtual exhibition. So it's really a cool tool and gift that you can give to some VIP customers or prospects. And then the other thing you might want to consider are those attendee list rentals. Jefferson briefly talked about those. Those can also be ordered through the exhibitor registration dashboard. We have a webinar actually next week that will help you understand how to filter your lists, how to target exactly who you're trying to reach with your messaging. You have options for a mailing list that goes straight to a bonded mail house that will do the mailing on your behalf, or you can get an attendee list that will give you some basic information like the attendee's name, company they work for, job title, city and state. There's no mailing information or email, but now you can match that up with your customer database and say, hey, you're going to be at RSNA, come see me. So that's kind of how that option works. And then you can also upgrade your basic exhibitor listing that every exhibitor gets. You can do either a premium or a virtual listing. Those listing upgrades can be purchased right in the exhibitor portal. Depending on the upgrade option that you choose, you would be able to upload your company logo and then a set quantity depending on your package as far as like product images, PDFs, videos. And then the virtual and virtual plus listings are meant to be more interactive. So you would have interactive demos that you can host and you can add virtual business cards for some of your staff to engage with attendees online. So if you're interested in any of those, go right into the portal or you can contact us and we can share more details on those packages. These other sponsorship opportunities, those you can contact Lisa Lazaretto in the corporate relations team and she can let you know what is still available and give you more details of each option. But you can also check out the sponsorship opportunities section on our webpage and you'll find quite a bit of information for both pre-show, on-site sponsorships, and even some year-round opportunities.
Excellent, Sherry. Thank you so much. It sounds like RSNA has done a really good job of kind of putting exhibitors' needs, higher and adapting your marketing programs. And the idea to be able to acquire the mailing list, right, and mail through a bonded mail house, but also the idea, I love the idea of being able to acquire the registration without that information, giving the exhibitors the ability to go through that list. And if your exhibit interaction capacity is 160, I would look for 320 to 500 dead ringer matches on that list. And then that would give me the confidence certainly to invest in the full mailing list and doing that personalized mailer to my must-see visitors. So really good stuff. Hey, best advice I have for all exhibitors is to view your relationship with RSNA as your marketing partners. Think about your goals, think about your target visitor, think about your budget, and pick up the phone and talk to the RSNA advertising sponsorship team. They're here to help you achieve your goals. So thank you so much, Sherry. I'm going to go ahead and close out with these next 2 points so we can get into Q&A. So when should you start your pre-marketing? Well, when you're using print media, right, if you're going to use professional journals, trade publications, you're going to want to be in that 2 to 3 month range where you're having a 3 month prior, 2 month prior, 1 month prior type time frame. For your digital media, and that would be your email, your social media, if you're using websites, landing pages, podcasts, webinars, anything like that, 45 to 60 days before the show. For your direct one-to-one media, where you're really going after this group, about 30 days before showtime would be your launch for your direct one-to-one. What you want to try to do is you want to try to land at least 3 direct touches with your target visitor, right? And remember, it takes as many as 9 to 12 reaches, right, to land 3 touches. And it seems to work best when these 3 touches come through multiple media. For example, when I'm doing what I call a high-profile campaign, maybe I'm going to get that pre-registered list and I'm going to pick my top 50 must-see people. If I don't see anybody else in the show but these 50 people, then I might put together my large, what I call my shock and awe mailer, and I might have that land about 30 days before showtime by mail. And then I will follow up that with an email in that 14 to 10 day window, and then I'll have my sales or my dealer distributors pick up the phone and call in that 5 to 10 days before the show window. If you're going to use a postcard, I really like postcard sequences, where you might have a postcard that lands in the 25-day window prior and the 10-day window prior. And that way you're getting those multiple touches. It's hard. One touch is very hard to who knows if they even saw it. So you're right in the sweet spot right now is the beauty of this. Okay, so final piece before we get into Q&A and to begin to wind down, hopefully what has been an exciting and valuable session for you. So what are some of the tricks and the tips and the tactics and things that you can do to get a higher response rate? In typical marketing, a 1 to 3% response rate is considered good. In targeted trade show marketing, 10 to 15% should be around the minimum. When you're doing high profile, these multi-touch, using shock and awe type packages, I'm talking in the 30 to 60% response range. The highest that I've been ever able to pull with a client is 75% response in our high profile campaign. So let me share some of the ideas. It all starts with the list, right? So really, when you go through that pre-reg list, narrow it down and make sure you tune in for that webinar next week, because you're going to learn exactly how to use the targeting tools to narrow down, right? That way you're not wasting $1 and you're not touching everybody. I'm going to say it again, your reason why this problem, solution, this opportunity, the first words, if you're sending an email, I would have RSNA 21 : and then I would have my hook right there. If I'm doing a mailer, like a postcard, I'm going to have that hook right at the top, right? But it's all going to be about why should they come see you, right? They have an overchoice in who to go see. So that here's the best copywriting formula in the B2B world, and I've tested every formula I can find, and I'll tell you this is the best. Problem, agitation, solution. Call out the problem. In a few sentences, talk about how it's impacting their practice, their operation, their job, their frustration. Position, attending and visiting your booth as the place to do what? Learn and talk solutions. Problem, agitation, solution, right? That's the strongest one. And don't forget the learning, right? Because thought leadership and learning. So you can also take a whole different angle with that. Your clear call to action. You've got to have a call to action. I'm a big believer today in using things like Calendly when I'm going for, especially the greatest commitment you could get before the show is a confirmed appointment, like on Tuesday at 2 p.m. in the exhibit. It's the hardest to get, but you can get it, right? So using technology tools like Calendly and having your staff set up and having these 15-minute windows available and putting Calendly links. The call to action is click here to schedule a one-to-one expert conversation. Boom, call to action, right? Make it clear. Also tell them to add you to their My Show planner. We talked about the reward. Okay, I'll give you a couple reward examples. So in Chicago, I did work with a company that markets intraoral cameras for the dental marketplace, right? And when I first met this company, they were out chest thumping about how great they were. They were the creators of the concept. They were technically talking way over dentist's head. I said, guys, let's dial that back. People don't care about that. I said, what problems does the intraoral camera solve? And they said, well, it reduces patient consultation time, when a dentist is sitting there having to talk through, right, the problem and try to prescribe treatment, it could take 7, 12, 15 minutes. The intraoral camera cuts the time down to 1 or 2 minutes. Second, it increases the patient's acceptance rate of the recommendation. A picture is worth 1,000 words, right? And third, this was a big one, it got insurance claims processed faster. So here's what we did. We rented the pre-registered attendee list at the Chicago Dental Show. We drilled it down to 300 must-see dentists. Our key select was the number of operatories in the practice. We were looking for multi-operatory practices, right? We sent a priority mail envelope, right, that said a personal invitation for Dr. Michael Henneveld at CDS Midwinter Meeting. There was a lump in the package, you know, and I'll talk about lump, but the hook on it was, how much time do you spend on the average day prescribing treatment to your patients? And what would it mean if you could cut that in half and double the acceptance rate? And oh, by the way, get your claims processed 50% faster, right? Really strong hook right out of the gate. Give us 5 minutes at CDS and we'll show you exactly how to do this. At the bottom it said, P.S. As our way of saying thank you, we have 99 more of these waiting for you at the booth. In the envelope, we put a golf tee with the dentist's name on the tee, right? We were able to get 100 personalized golf tees for about $7, right? So we did the shock and awe mailer, we followed up with an email, and then we made a call. 300 pre-registered dentists, 178 show up at our booth, 72 with a golf tee in hand. We literally put a homing device on them, right? And it was personalized, and we didn't pull that out of the sky, because in our message, hey, what would it mean if you could, you know, sell more dentistry in less time? You'd probably take more time to do what? Hint, hint, golf, right? And that was through a lot of research. None of that was by accident, but what a response to that, right? And then we gave the golf tees to the territory reps to follow up after the show, to call the dentist, say, hey, I'd like to drop by and bring your 99 tees by. We ended up from that show, listen carefully, in intraoral cameras, we ended up writing $7.8 million in intraoral cameras within 6 months of show closing time. So think about rewards, make it unique, make it useful, right? Make it quality, make it personalized, okay? And finally, one attempt is never enough, right? If all we did was mail the shock and awe package, I have a feeling our response rate might have been, you know, maybe 30 or 40 would have showed up. I felt like it was the 3 touches that built upon the shock and awe package we sent that made the difference. So one attempt, so try to touch them. Okay, I could go on and on and on, but we've run a few minutes over. Again, we had a technical issue out of the gate. I'm going to take a look in the question queue, and while I do, Sherry, any additional thoughts or insights or closing messages from RSNA?
Well, I want to thank you, but you're not quite done, so I don't want to dismiss you yet, because I know there might be some questions out there to get answered. But I'm such a firm believer in pre-show marketing, so I think that this has been like such an important and helpful session. So I'm really glad you were able to touch on all of that and give our exhibitors some ideas of what they can do now, because this is that critical time of when they can start really getting those attendees, you know, like you said, on their agenda and on their My Show planner.
Well, thank you. Questions? We don't have many, so I'm assuming that we have really opened the floodgates, and they're sitting there going, okay, I've got my roadmap, I've got my game plan. But one question that came in, we have a few. The first one, Sherry, I would ask you is, when will the pre-registered attendee lists be available?
Yeah, so the pre-registration attendee list is actually launching this week. We were just kind of finalizing some of the internal parts of the system. We were trying to add filters so that you can determine if somebody's a virtual attendee or in person. We thought that would be an important filter option, so we had to add that functionality. So we're hoping that that will be launching this week. So you will access that right in the dashboard. So if you're in the registration dashboard and you're clicking on it and it's not working, just be patient another day or so.
The second question is, when is the webinar on, that next webinar you mentioned earlier?
Yeah, so next Wednesday, we have our webinar Wednesdays. So yeah, join us next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. That will be with Nicole from CDS, and she will not only go over the attendee lists, but also all the lead retrieval features. They have some pretty unique features for scanning leads, and being able to do follow-up. So you'll want to tune in and hear about both of those services and products.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. Next question, I think, is in my wheelhouse is, how much of our trade show budget should we be allocating to marketing and promoting our presence? The last research report that I saw had the average exhibitor, write this down, average exhibitor was allocating 14%. And that number almost doubled from the previous study, which was at 7.5%. So here's my thought. The average exhibitor allocates 14% of their budget to promoting their participation. The success rule is find out what the average is doing and do better than that. I would recommend, because it's one of the most critical success factors, that you jump up into that at least 15%, ideally maybe as much as 20%, because no other factor, right? It's not how much you spent on concrete. It's not how much you spent building your property. No other factor is going to have as much impact on your ultimate success as your ability to get enough of the right people to your booth. And so this, to me, is the great area of opportunity. It's kind of the way to slant the exhibit or your way. It's really the way to win the game before kickoff, which is what we've been talking about here today. So that is all I'm seeing on for questions. And so I want to say a few things. Number one, to RSNA, Sherry, John Jaworski, great team there. Thank you for caring so much about your exhibitors, right? To not just rent them concrete, but really provide ongoing education. You are a rare breed. I know we appreciate you very much for that. All you exhibitors who are on here today, thank you for showing up, because here's a great quote I heard recently. It's what you learn, you know it all, that counts, right? And there's a lot of webinar, but you took the time to be here today. And remember this, you don't have to do everything, but do something. It's what you heard here today that's going to make a difference. It's going to be what you do, what you heard. Knowledge, in my view, is only power intelligently applied. So let's get busy. Let's get to work. Let's take ownership of our success. Let's not let the rumor mill or anything out there freak us out that attendance is going to be down. You absolutely win RSNA 21, and you can win it big if you put in the work, right things. So I was so excited to share this with you today. If any of you have questions, want to run things by me, I sent my email address a minute ago through the chat. And with that, I will close. Sherry, final comments from RSNA.
Yeah, so I'm hoping everyone enjoyed today's webinar and just all of the opportunities that we were able to share with you, and we look forward to having you join us for all of our other upcoming topics. You will find a list of remaining webinars on our exhibitor best practices page, and you can click on those links to register. And if you've missed any of them, the recordings are in the on-demand section of the page. So on behalf of the entire RSNA Exhibition Services team, I want to thank you again for joining us today. And we look forward to seeing you all in person in Chicago this fall. So stay well and have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thanks, everybody. This concludes our webinar. We will see you in Chicago, November 28th. Stay well.